There comes a time, not on the clock, but in the heart, when the soul whispers, enough. Enough giving yourself away in exchange for validation. Enough handing your peace to the opinions of others. Enough letting your value be dictated by circumstances or your light dimmed by someone else's shadows. And in that quiet, sacred moment, a moment not seen by the world but felt by eternity, you are invited to take back the power you gave away. You were not born to be at the mercy of the world. You were born from something eternal, for something eternal. And though you have forgotten your source 1,000 times in 1,000 forms, your source has never forgotten you. It has always called you home. And home, my friend, is not a place you find outside. It is the holy place within where your power has never left. It only waits for your return. We live most of our lives believing the lie that our worth must be proven, earned, defended. We construct a self from scraps, what others think, what the past taught us, what society rewarded, and then we hand over the keys to that false self to anyone who smiles at us, anyone who criticizes us, anyone who offers approval. And in doing so, we make silent agreements with fear, agreements that say, I'll abandon my truth if it makes you more comfortable. Agreements that say, I'll dim my light so you don't feel insecure. Agreements that say, I need you to choose me so I don't have to choose myself. But here is the truth, unshakable and luminous. You cannot lose your power. You can only forget it. You cannot destroy your light. You can only hide it beneath the rubble of other people's expectations. The power you seek is not in becoming more, it is in remembering that you already are. And when you remember who you are, not as a name, not as a role, not as a story, but as a presence, as the awareness behind the thoughts, as the soul behind the eyes, then no one can take anything from you again. Taking back your power is not about control. It's not about shouting louder or winning the argument. It's not about proving anything to anyone. That's still the ego masquerading as empowerment. No real power is quiet. It is soft and undeniable, like gravity. It does not need to announce itself. It simply is. It cannot be threatened because it does not depend on anything external. True power is rooted in being, not doing. In awareness, not reaction. In presence, not performance. When you reclaim your power, you stop asking for permission to be whole. You stop auditioning for love. You stop begging the past to make sense. You stop outsourcing your peace to things that were never meant to hold it. You stop trying to get from the world what only your own soul can give. And how do you reclaim this power? You begin by noticing where you lost it. Not with judgment, but with gentle curiosity. Where in your life are you still trying to earn approval? Where are you still believing that someone else's opinion of you is more accurate than your own knowing? Where are you still afraid to speak, to leave, to shine, to stand tall because somewhere deep inside you believe you are not enough unless someone tells you so? You cannot change what you do not first acknowledge. And when you look at these places, not with shame, but with the eyes of love, something miraculous begins to happen. You start to remember. You start to see through the illusion. You start to feel the embers of truth flickering in your belly, calling you home. You are not weak because you gave your power away. You are human. You learned what you learned in order to unlearn it. And now, with the grace of your awareness, you are invited to come back to yourself, to pick up the pieces of your power one by one and hold them in your hands like sacred treasures. Because that's what they are. Not weapons, but wisdom. Not armor, but truth. The world will always try to convince you that your power lives outside of you. In status, in money, in relationships, in how many people clap when you speak, but the soul knows better. The soul knows that real power lives in the silent choice to love yourself when no one is watching. In the brave decision to walk away from anything that dishonors your spirit. In the unwavering trust that you don't need to chase what is a lie, and you only need to become who you truly are, and what is for you will rise to meet you. You are not here to be anyone's echo. You are not here to fit in. You are here to remember the divine music that plays through you, the music that cannot be silenced, even if you have tried. You are here to stop rehearsing a version of yourself that makes others comfortable and start living as the version of yourself that makes your soul exhale. There is a power in you that no one can touch, not because it is protected by walls, but because it is protected by truth. And truth does not bend to opinion. It does not shrink in fear. It does not vanish when challenged. It stands like a mountain in a storm, like the stars in the void, like love in the face of rejection. Taking back your power is an act of remembering, not resisting. It is the choice to stop leaking energy to people, to stories, to roles that were never meant to carry the weight of your spirit. It is the decision to turn inward, to silence the noise, and listen not to the mind, but to the soul. The soul doesn't shout, it whispers, and it never shames. It reminds you. It reassures you. It gently points the way back, not to a new you, but to the real you. You've looked everywhere else. Now it's time to look within, to sit with yourself, not as a critic, but as a friend. To ask not, what should I do to be enough? But what part of me forgot that I already am? Because when you heal that part, when you embrace that part, when you stop running from the wounded places inside you and instead become a loving witness to them, that is when you reclaim the pieces of power you left behind. The people who hurt you were not stronger than you. The heartbreak did not break you. It broke open what needed to be healed. The rejection was not a verdict. It was a redirection. Every moment you thought you were being diminished, the truth is you were being refined. And now you are rising, not in spite of what happened, but because of it. And this, dear soul, is the miracle of awakening. Nothing that happened to you has the authority to define you. Only your spirit does that. And your spirit is untouched, unbroken, unchanged. Your spirit remembers who you are when you forget. And it is patiently waiting for you to remember with it. To take back the name you were given before the world gave you labels. To take back your peace from the mouth of fear. To take back your voice from the hands of silence. To take back your power, not as something you must fight for, but as something that was always yours. You don't reclaim your power by becoming louder, you reclaim it by becoming quieter. You reclaim it not by grasping, but by releasing. Not by proving yourself, but by remembering yourself. That eternal self that existed before you were taught who to be. That unshakable presence within you that has never left, even when you wandered far from it. It is still there, untouched by the storms of this world, waiting with open arms, not to change you, but to remind you of what was never lost. To take back the power you gave away is to finally stop negotiating with fear. It is to stop looking into the faces of others, hoping they will give you permission to be free. It is to realize, in a flash of sacred clarity, that the door has never been locked, that your chains were made of thoughts, not truth, that your prison was built with beliefs, not bricks. And in that moment of seeing clearly, you don't need to escape, you only need to wake up. You were never meant to carry the weight of everyone else's expectations. You were never meant to perform for approval. You were meant to live in alignment with the truth that pulses through your being, like breath, like blood, like stars in motion. You were meant to move as love, not for love. You were meant to express, not to impress. You were meant to be, not to become, what you gave away in the name of survival. Your boundaries, your voice, your joy can be reclaimed not by force, but by forgiveness. Forgiveness of yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Forgiveness of others who, in their own pain taught you that love must be earned, and forgiveness of the story that said you needed to be anything but exactly who you are to be worthy. There is profound power in simply sitting still and saying, I forgive myself. Not because you were wrong, but because you were trying to belong in a world that profits from your disconnection. You were trying to find peace in places that could never give it to you. And now, with eyes of grace, you see that your attempts were not failures, they were teachers. Each one brought you closer to this moment, this miracle, this remembering. When you reclaim your power, you don't become someone else. You become real. The masks fall, the armor drops, the striving ends. And what is left is not weakness, it is divinity. It is the raw, holy presence of your soul, finally allowed to breathe in the open, finally free to take up space, finally free to speak its truth, not to dominate, but to liberate, not to wound, but to awaken. You see, the world has convinced you that strength looks like control, like stoicism, like independence at all costs. But real strength is soft. Real strength is open. Real strength is the courage to feel deeply and still choose peace. Real strength is letting go of the need to win and choosing instead to be whole. And you do not need to become strong. You only need to stop pretending that you are not. Your power is not in what you can control. It is in how you surrender, in how you stop resisting the truth of who you are, in how you meet yourself in the mirror each morning and speak not words of criticism, but of compassion, in how you choose over and over again to come back to presence, to silence, to stillness, to the sacred ground of being that is always here. The ego says, prove it. The soul says, allow it. The ego says, fight back. The soul says, let go. The ego says, you're not enough yet. The soul whispers, you already are. And the moment you stop chasing your wholeness and start resting in it, the game changes. The moment you stop striving to become and instead begin to remember, that's when you touch true power. You are not here to keep the peace by abandoning yourself. You are not here to play small so others feel big. You are not here to shrink your voice so others can be comfortable in their illusion. You are here to embody light. And light does not apologize for shining. Light does not dim itself to be accepted by shadows. Light does not seek permission. It just is. So let yourself be that light again. Let yourself shine, not for applause, but because it is your nature. Let yourself walk away from roles that ask you to betray your truth. Let yourself say no when your soul contracts. Let yourself choose stillness when the world demands noise. Let yourself come home not to a place, but to a presence, to your own presence. The power you gave away when you silenced your voice is returned the moment you speak your truth, even if it shakes. The power you gave away when you tried to please everyone is reclaimed the moment you choose integrity over approval. The power you gave away when you became a version of yourself for others is brought back the moment you decide to become no one but yourself. And the self you are returning to, that radiant, infinite, grounded self, does not need fixing. It needs remembering. It needs permission. It needs space to expand. And the moment you offer it that space, the false identities begin to fall away. The persona crumbles. The roles dissolve. And you are left, not empty, but full of presence, full of light, full of the divine essence that was always there beneath the performance. You don't need to take your power back from others because they never truly held it. They only held the illusion of it. The real work is taking it back from the thoughts that told you you were less than divine. Taking it back from the patterns that were rooted in fear. Taking it back from the unconscious agreements that said, if I just do more, give more, sacrifice more, maybe then I'll be enough. But beloved, you are enough. Not because of what you do, but because of what you are. A soul, infinite and holy, having a temporary human experience, a breath of the divine wrapped in skin, a being of pure presence, made not by the world, but by the infinite source behind it. To take back the power you gave away is not to shout it from rooftops. It is to live it silently in every breath. It is to honor your energy like it is sacred, because it is. It is to stop proving, performing, and pleasing, and start being. It is to know, not think, not believe, but know that you are whole, even when the world says you are not. And in that knowing, you find peace. In that peace, you find clarity. In that clarity, you find courage. And with that courage, you begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with alignment. Not with pride, but with presence. Not seeking, but radiating. Because power, true power, does not need to pursue, it attracts. It calls forth, it magnetizes. And when you are in your power, you no longer need to hold on so tightly. You no longer grip people, outcomes, identities. You begin to trust that what is for you will remain, and what leaves was never meant to stay. You begin to live open-handed, knowing that the universe does not take it clears. It does not punish, it purifies. It does not abandon, it redirects. Always, always for your highest unfolding. This is the sacred invitation of your life, to come home to yourself, to release the lies, to drop the masks, to return not to an old version of you, but to the original one, the one untouched by pain, by fear, by distortion, the one who is still here, still whole, still powerful, beyond measure. And so you breathe, and in that breath, you remember. And in that remembering, you reclaim. And in that reclamation, you rise. And when you rise, you do so not to tower above others, but to finally stand with yourself. You rise not as an act of defiance, but of devotion to the truth within you that no longer wishes to sleep. You rise not because you are finished healing, but because you are finished pretending you are not already whole. You rise because something ancient and holy within you refuses to stay hidden any longer. This rising is not loud. It does not need an audience. It does not wait for applause. It is the sacred act of returning to what you never truly lost, the still center, the calm awareness, the eternal now. And in that now, you see clearly. You were never broken, only buried beneath the noise, beneath the shame, beneath the performance, beneath the stories that said you were too much or not enough or somehow wrong for simply being you. But those stories were never yours. You inherited them. You absorbed them. You carried them for years like heavy stones in your spirit, thinking they were truth. But now you see they were only echoes of someone else's pain. And you do not have to carry what does not belong to you. When you take back the power you gave away, you no longer measure your worth by how much you produce or how perfectly you perform. You begin to rest in the miracle of simply being. You begin to look in the mirror and meet your own gaze without apology. You begin to speak not to be heard, but because your voice is sacred. You begin to choose what feels like peace instead of what looks like approval. And what a beautiful power that is. To no longer need to explain your soul. To no longer shrink to fit into spaces that dishonor your expansion. To no longer negotiate your boundaries just to be accepted by people who have yet to accept themselves. This is not rebellion. This is return. This is not ego. This is essence. This is the sacred remembrance that your spirit came into this world with a mission not to impress, not to conform, not to survive, but to awaken, to love, to embody the divine. And when you remember that, the illusion of power that the world sold you begins to dissolve. Because real power is not in dominance, it is in presence. It is not in knowing all the answers, it is in trusting the silence. It is not in never falling, it is in rising every time, softer, wiser, and more open than before. You are not here to be powerful in the way the world defines it. You are here to be powerful in the way the soul remembers it, as love, as peace, as the quiet strength that flows like water through every crack in the illusion. You are here to be power, not as force, but as freedom, the kind that liberates others simply by being what it is. And when you live from that place, everything changes. You no longer chase love, you become it. You no longer beg for peace, you embody it. You no longer wait for signs, you are the sign. You no longer look outward for a savior because you become the one you were waiting for. This is not fantasy. This is not motivational fluff. This is the truth that lives beneath all other truths. This is the truth the soul has been whispering through every heartbreak, every loss, every longing. It has always said the same thing again and again. Come back to yourself. Come back home. You are the light. You are the way. So take back the power you gave away by stopping the search for it outside of you. Take it back by no longer asking for permission to be enough. Take it back by resting in the fullness of your being, even when the world tells you to keep striving. Take it back by honoring what you feel, what you know, what you are, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's misunderstood. Because every time you do, the illusion loses its grip. Every time you do, the false self crumbles a little more. Every time you do, the soul gets louder and life gets clearer. And the moment you stop trying to fix yourself and start witnessing yourself with compassion, you begin to understand that healing is not about becoming new, it's about remembering what was always true. The moment you stop running from your wounds and start meeting them with love, they stop being prisons and start becoming portals. The moment you stop performing and start being, the performance ends and the real you steps onto the stage. And the real you does not fear rejection, because it no longer depends on acceptance. The real you does not fear failure because it no longer chases success. The real you does not seek to be special, it knows it is sacred. The real you does not need a reason to rest, to breathe, to shine, to love. It simply does because that is its nature. So breathe deeply. And with each breath, let go of what is not yours. Let go of the labels, the roles, the masks, the burdens. Let go of the need to be understood by those who do not understand themselves. Let go of the fear that your truth will be too much or not enough. Let go of the story that says you have to earn your worth. Let go of the belief that says power looks like control. And in that letting go, you return. Not to who you were before the pain, but to who you were beneath it. Not to an older version of yourself, but to the eternal one. The one who never left. The one who knows. You do not need to force this becoming. You need only to allow it. You do not need to fight for your light. You need only to stop hiding it. You do not need to convince the world of your worth. You need only to remember it, live it, embody it, and the world will reflect it back in ways you could never predict. Because life, you see, does not respond to who you pretend to be. It responds to who you truly are. It responds to your frequency, to your vibration, to your alignment. And when you are aligned with the truth of your being, that you are already whole, already worthy, already divine, you stop chasing life and start co-creating with it. This is power. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that sings. Not the kind that controls, but the kind that flows. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates. And it has always been yours. There is something profound that happens when you stop waiting to be rescued and realize you were never lost. The power you gave away wasn't taken from you, it was placed in the hands of false beliefs with your silent consent. But now, something in you is rising, not in noise, but in knowing. And that knowing is your liberation. That knowing is your homecoming. That knowing is your true power. This is where the journey turns inward once more. Because real change does not come from rearranging your outer world. It comes from surrendering your inner world to truth, to love, to presence. And when you surrender in this way, you don't lose control. You remember you never needed it. Taking back your power means no longer reacting to life from the place of fear, but responding from the presence of love. It means recognizing that every trigger, every disappointment, every unhealed ache is not a punishment, but a doorway leading back to the part of you still waiting to be loved, to be seen, to be heard by you. You take back your power by meeting yourself in the very places where you once abandoned yourself, in the fear you silenced, in the anger you buried, in the grief you rushed past. You return to those parts like a gentle parent, not to fix them, but to sit with them, to be with them, to let them know, I'm here now, and I will not leave you again. Because the real power you seek is not power over others, it is power with yourself. Power that comes from radical self-honesty, from integrity, from no longer betraying your peace just to keep the illusion of connection, from refusing to trade your truth for temporary comfort, from learning to be alone without being lonely because your own presence has become your sanctuary. This is the liberation no one can give you and no one can take away. You may be wondering, but what happens to my life when I change in this way? What happens to the relationships I built while living from the false self? What happens to the roles I played, the expectations I carried, the systems I upheld with my silence? And here is the truth. Some things will fall away. Some people may not understand the new vibration you are anchoring into. Some chapters may close not because you failed, but because you healed. But this is not loss. This is alignment. This is not collapse. It is recalibration. And whatever is not rooted in truth cannot survive your awakening. Let it go. Your job is not to keep things together that were never meant to last. Your job is to stay true to your soul as it returns to its natural rhythm. Your job is to honor the sacred contract you made before you came into this body, to embody the light you are no matter what the world does with it. So you stand taller now, not with pride, but with presence. You walk lighter, not because life is easier, but because your burden is no longer self-abandonment. You speak softer, not because you are uncertain, but because your certainty no longer needs volume. You love deeper, not because you need someone, but because you are love, and love naturally extends itself without demand. And most importantly, you forgive. You forgive yourself for the years you spent pretending, pleasing, and proving. You forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. You forgive yourself for the moments when you gave yourself away just to feel safe, seen, or wanted. Because you now know you no longer need to abandon yourself to be loved. You need only to return to yourself, to love yourself fiercely, unapologetically, unconditionally. When you take back the power you gave away, you realize it was never about becoming powerful in the eyes of others. It was about remembering you were never powerless in the eyes of the divine. You were never a victim of your life, only a student of it. And now, with eyes of wisdom and a heart made soft by the fire, you step into your true identity, not a role, not a label, not a wound, not a performance, but a soul, a light, a sacred being, here for a sacred reason. And that reason is not to strive endlessly, not to prove your worth, not to gather possessions or perfect appearances, but to awaken, to be, to love, to shine. You will still face challenges. The world will still ask you to forget, but now you will remember, and when you forget, you will remember again. That is the path. That is the way. It is not a straight line, but a spiral, always returning deeper each time to the truth that cannot be erased. You are enough. You are whole. You are home. So breathe, dear soul. Let this be your exhale. Let this be the moment you stop chasing and start receiving. Let this be the moment you take your life, your real life, back into your sacred hands. And as you do, may you walk gently but boldly. May you speak clearly but kindly. May you rest deeply, knowing you no longer have to pretend. May you live freely, knowing nothing outside you can add to what already lives within you. This is your return. This is your remembrance. This is your reclaiming. This is your power, and it was never gone. It was always here. And now, you are too. There is a silent song humming through the cosmos, a vibration so pure, so ancient, that it existed long before the first breath of time. And this song, this eternal current, is what responds to the frequency you emit. You are not separate from it. You are not apart from the universe. You are of it. You are made of it. Your essence is energy. And that energy carries a frequency, one that speaks, even when your mouth is closed, even when your thoughts are chaotic, even when your heart is breaking. And the universe listens not to your words, but to your vibration. You may have been taught that the world is happening to you, but the deeper truth, the one whispered to the soul when it is still, is that life is happening through you. It mirrors you, reflects you, echoes back to you, not your circumstances, but your consciousness. Not your struggle, but your state. You are not a powerless observer floating in a chaotic sea. You are a powerful creator immersed in a field that responds to what you are being. And what you are being is everything. Not what you're doing, not what you're hoping, but what you are. There is a field of energy around you that is constantly broadcasting a signal. That signal is your dominant emotion. It is your core belief. It is the story you keep silently telling yourself. And the universe, in all its infinite wisdom and non-judgmental compassion, simply aligns with it. It doesn't judge your frequency. It doesn't decide whether you're worthy or not. It simply responds. If you are living in fear, it will meet you with more reasons to be afraid. If you are living in love, it will offer you more to love. If you are rooted in scarcity, life will echo back lack. If you are grounded in gratitude, life will mirror abundance. This is not punishment or reward. This is resonance. The universe is not a parent with favorites, nor is it a system of reward points for good behavior. It is vibration, and vibration cannot be tricked. You cannot fake alignment. You cannot affirm over a wound that hasn't been healed. You cannot chant joy from a soul that has not yet made peace. Because the universe doesn't hear your words. It feels your signal. So the real journey, the sacred work, is not in begging the universe for better, but in becoming better aligned with who you truly are beneath the noise. And who you truly are is light, is love, is divine presence in a temporary form. You don't need to get anything from life. You only need to become what life responds to. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Let us stop for a moment and ask the real question. What signal am I sending out into the field right now? Is it the frequency of resentment, of comparison, of fear, self-doubt, and trying to be enough? Or is it the quiet, anchored presence of someone who remembers even for a moment that they are not this mind, this emotion, this body, this history, but the one witnessing it all? Because that shift from identification with the ego to identification with the soul is the shift that changes everything. You see, the ego wants to manipulate the universe. It says, if I do this, then I should get that. It bargains, it pleads, it performs, it pretends. But the soul does not bargain. The soul remembers. The soul radiates. The soul does not need to force life into shape. It simply returns to its true frequency, and life takes form around it. This is the art of surrender. Not giving up, but tuning in. Not efforting, but aligning. Not striving, but allowing. The rose does not open by force. It opens by being in harmony with the season. So must you. There is nothing more magnetic than a being who has returned to their natural frequency. They do not beg, they do not chase, they do not prove. They simply become the embodiment of what they once thought they needed to seek. And then life bends around them effortlessly, like gravity answering its source. The universe responds not to your need, but to your being. Not to your pain, but to your peace. Not to your desire, but to your wholeness. And you are already whole. But somewhere along the way, you believed otherwise. Somewhere, you inherited the idea that you must strive, must hustle, must become more as though the infinite could be measured in worth. And in doing so, you moved from presence to pretense, from frequency to friction, from flow to force. But your soul remembers the truth. It remembers what it feels like to rest in the now, to be in the moment without agenda, to breathe without resistance, to love without condition, to trust without knowing. And when you return to this place, not in theory, but in being, everything changes. Because the universe cannot help but meet you where you are. And where you are vibrationally is always creating what comes next. Let this not frighten you, let it free you. Because it means you are not at the mercy of fate or karma or broken history. You are not the victim of some random algorithm in the sky. You are the author of resonance, the chooser of frequency, the mirror to which all things are drawn. So if you want more love, be the love that no longer waits. If you want more abundance, embody the gratitude that already sees it everywhere. If you want peace, be still and know you are not the storm. You are the sky it moves through. When your frequency rises, your life cannot stay the same. Not because you manipulated the external, but because you transfigured the internal. You alchemized your energy. You didn't chase, you tuned. You didn't fight, you surrendered. You didn't shout, you harmonized. And so the entire orchestra of your existence changed keys. You are not meant to push the river. You are meant to remember that you are the river. You are the stream that flows through valleys of experience, over stones of challenge, under bridges of doubt, and still you move forward, naturally, guided not by force, but by the silent pull of your own divine current. When you resist what is, you create dissonance in your frequency. But when you accept what is, you become powerful in your flow. And the universe ever so gently reorients to meet you there in the field of surrender where miracles bloom. Your frequency is your signature. It is not what you say about yourself. It is not the mask you wear or the image you curate. It is the hum beneath your silence. It is the truth that pulses underneath every smile, every thought, every breath. And the universe reads this with perfect accuracy, not to judge, but to align. You are not being punished by your life. You are being tuned by it. Every difficult moment, every closed door, every loss is not a cosmic insult. It is a compassionate response to what no longer matches the higher signal you were born to become. When you learn to listen inward instead of outward, you begin to hear the whispers of frequency before they become the shouts of fate. The soul always speaks before the suffering begins, but most of us wait. We wait for pain to teach us what presence could have shown us in stillness. We wait until our bodies break down before we rest. We wait until we're alone to understand the need for self-love. We wait until we're depleted to realize we were chasing from a frequency of emptiness. But the universe never rushes you. It waits too patiently, lovingly for you to come back to your vibration. And what is your vibration, truly, when all the noise is cleared? It is peace. Not the kind found in a quiet room, but the kind that radiates from a quiet heart. It is joy. Not the temporary high, but the steady flame that burns even in the rain. It is love. Not the transaction of affection, but the unconditional remembrance that you are what you seek. There are no shortcuts to frequency. You cannot meditate your way into joy while secretly resenting the world. You cannot visualize abundance while clinging to fear. The inner world is precise. It does not lie. And that is its beauty. That is its power. Because it means your transformation is not dependent on the external. You can shift your frequency in this moment, not tomorrow, not next year, now. Take a breath. Deep, unforced, honest, and feel for just this breath what it means to be enough without becoming more, to be worthy without proof, to be loved without condition. Now feel what rises. If it's resistance, that's okay. Let it speak. Let it move. For nothing lowers your frequency like the repression of truth, and nothing raises it like the courageous return to self. You do not need to earn your way into alignment. You simply need to remove what no longer belongs. Let go of the guilt that was never yours. Release the shame that came from someone else's pain. Lay down the identity that was built to survive, not to thrive. You are not your mask. You are not your wounds. You are not your past. You are the presence beneath all of it. And presence is the highest frequency of all. When you walk into a room as presence, you don't have to say a word. People feel it. Children sense it. Animals are drawn to it. Nature responds to it. Because you are no longer emitting the static of separation, you are radiating the coherence of truth. You are no longer pretending, you are being. And in being, you become magnetic to everything that matches that vibration. Have you ever wondered why things fall apart when you finally choose yourself? Why relationships shift when you return to inner peace? Why doors close when you start walking in alignment with your soul? It's not because you're being punished, it's because your frequency changed, and what once resonated no longer fits. The old must fall away, not as loss, but as proof of rebirth. Let it go. Let them go. Let what no longer vibrates with your truth be released, not with anger, but with gratitude for showing you what you are not. You don't need to understand everything. You only need to trust that your energy is a compass, and when it is clear, it will guide you not to comfort, but to truth, not to ease, but to expansion. And expansion often requires the shedding of skins, the unraveling of illusions, the death of who you thought you were. But this is not a tragedy. This is grace in motion. This is the universe saying, you are becoming more you than you have ever been. And so the question becomes, what frequency are you willing to live in now? Because the universe isn't waiting for your perfection. It's responding to your intention. It's not judging your flaws. It's aligning with your vibration. It's not testing your worth. It's reflecting your belief. Every thought you hold, every emotion you feed, every story you rehearse is an energetic instruction to life, not in punishment, in partnership. The field is intelligent, it is alive, and it is listening. When you speak, I am, the universe completes the sentence. I am broken, and it echoes back pain. I am healing, and it brings the teachers. I am whole, and it aligns the world to mirror it. So what are you claiming with your energy today? Not what are you saying, what are you being? If your mind is anxious, but your heart is present, listen to the heart. If your ego is screaming, but your soul is whispering, follow the whisper. For it is in the stillness beneath the noise where your true frequency resides, waiting for you to come home. Come home to the knowing that nothing outside of you is more powerful than what is within you. Come home to the silence that is not empty, but full of knowing, full of clarity, full of God. The mind will say you need to fix your life, rearrange your circumstances, hustle harder, prove something. But the soul knows you do not need to chase alignment. You need only to return to the place where you stop being honest with yourself. And in that return, your frequency begins to rise. It rises not through effort, but through authenticity. It rises not through performance, but through presence. It rises when you stop trying to be what you think the world wants and start being what your spirit already is. You've been taught to chase vibration with achievement, but the truth is, you raise your vibration by releasing. Not by adding more, but by subtracting what no longer serves. Let go of the beliefs that bind you. Let go of the story that says you are small, unworthy, alone. That story was a survival strategy, not a reflection of your divinity. And the universe has never responded to your wounds. It has only responded to the energy those wounds created. So, if you are ready for life to meet you differently, meet yourself differently first. Speak to yourself with reverence. Think of yourself as divine. Treat your thoughts as seeds, for what you plant in the soil of your mind becomes the forest of your experience. Energy cannot lie. What you believe deep down becomes the blueprint of what the universe returns to you. And belief is not a sentence, it is a frequency. You can say, I am worthy 1,000 times. But if your energy says, I am still seeking proof, the field will respond to the seeking, not the words. So the real work, the sacred path, is to live as if your worth is not in question. Not to pretend, but to remember, to strip away every layer that ever told you otherwise, the beliefs that came from others, the shame that was inherited, the doubt that was absorbed from a world that forgot its own light. These are not yours. They were never yours. You were not here to carry them, you were here to transmute them. You are here to alchemize fear into presence, guilt into grace, and confusion into clarity. And the moment you choose to stand in your truth, the entire frequency of your life shifts. You've seen it. You've felt it. Those moments when you finally let go and suddenly things align. The phone call comes, the door opens, the path clears. Why? Because you didn't force life. You stopped resisting yourself. You let go of what kept you small. And in doing so, you matched the field of miracles that has been waiting for you all along. Miracles are not exceptions. They are reflections of alignment. You don't need to perform to be worthy of one. You need only to become the frequency of one. Become the vibration of love, and love will meet you in forms you never imagined. Become the vibration of peace, and chaos will no longer find a home in you. Become the vibration of wholeness, and nothing outside of you will have the power to break you again. This is not spiritual poetry. This is energetic law. The universe operates on resonance, and you, beloved, are a tuning fork of creation. If you are surrounded by noise, confusion, or lack, look not at the world, but within. Where's the noise in you? What story are you still playing on repeat? What belief are you still breathing life into that no longer aligns with your divine nature? Dare to pause. Dare to go inward. The world will pull you 1,000 different ways, but the soul only pulls one way, home. And home is not a place. Home is a frequency. It's the frequency of God within you. The still, unwavering hum of the infinite that has always been there beneath your pain, beneath your past, beneath your striving. You do not need to build your worth. You need only to uncover it. Strip away the noise. Let go of what isn't true. And feel, even now, what begins to awaken. This is the return. This is the healing. This is the frequency that shifts everything. You don't need the world to change for you to feel different. You need to feel different, and then the world begins to change. This is not a bypassing of reality, it is the deeper reality. For you are not just flesh and bone, you are vibration, you are light in motion, and the universe responds to that. The external is just the echo. The internal is the origin. So tend to your energy with care. Speak to your thoughts like you would a sacred child. Forgive your past with the softness of someone who has remembered the truth. Your energy is your power. Protect it, honor it, align it, and you will begin to experience a life that matches not your history, but your healing. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to transmute them. You are not here to beg life for blessings. You are here to radiate so brightly that blessings become inevitable. This is not arrogance. This is remembrance. Remember who you are. Remember what you are. Not the labels, not the name, not the roles or the wounds or the masks, but the presence behind all of it, the field of light that watches without judgment, the stillness that listens beneath the noise. That is you. And when you live from that place, you begin to emit a frequency so pure that the universe cannot help but respond in kind. It must, because you are it, and it is you. You are not meant to control the universe, you are meant to collaborate with it, but collaboration begins with clarity. Not clarity of outcomes, but clarity of energy. The most important question you can ask yourself is not, what should I do, but what am I radiating right now? Because your frequency does not lie. And life in its unending compassion will keep showing you what lives beneath the surface of your own awareness, not to shame you, but to free you. Every relationship that triggers you, every delay that frustrates you, every closed door that confuses you, these are not punishments, they are invitations. Opportunities to pause and ask, what am I being asked to release so that I can rise into a higher alignment? You see, the old self, the wounded self, the story-built self wants resolution through control. It wants to fix, force, and figure it all out. But the true self, the soul, wants resolution through resonance. It knows that the healing of your outer world begins with the coherence of your inner one. So you must begin to see everything not as happening to you, but as arising from you. Not in blame, never in blame, but in sacred responsibility. This is the frequency of a conscious creator. Not one who escapes life, but one who co-creates it with divine awareness. Because the more you attune to your true vibration, the more you become unshakable by what happens around you. Storms may come, but you no longer become them. Loss may arrive, but you no longer identify with lack. Uncertainty may rise, but you no longer abandon yourself to fear. This is frequency mastery. And it does not come from escaping the world. It comes from returning so deeply to the truth of who you are that the world can no longer distort your signal. You become the still point, the unmoved mover, the eye in the center of the storm. And in that stillness, the universe listens. It listens not because you are louder. It listens because you are clearer. It listens because you have dropped the noise, the need, the narrative, and you are simply being what you were always meant to be, a conscious emanation of love. This, beloved, is your natural state. Love is not something you earn. It is what you are when the noise is gone. And when you radiate from that place, the place of nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to fear, the universe opens in ways you could never orchestrate from the mind. Doors swing wide. People arrive like divine appointments. Healing rushes in without effort. And peace becomes your resting place, not a fleeting destination. This is not a fantasy. This is the real world as seen through the frequency of soul. Let go of the belief that the world must change first, that people must apologize, that conditions must improve. That your body, your bank account, your relationships must reach some imagined perfection before you feel whole. No, the secret is this. When you feel whole first, the world begins to rearrange itself around your new vibration. Because frequency is creative. It generates experience. It doesn't wait, it initiates. So take the pressure off trying to get everything right. You don't need to perfect your outer life. You need only to become congruent in your inner world, to live in harmony with what you truly believe, to think thoughts that feel like peace, to feel emotions that echo your truth, to embody the energy of what you wish to experience, and then watch life respond, not in days, in moments, because alignment is not about time, it's about presence. Time is only needed when you're still fighting the frequency of what is. But presence collapses time. It opens portals. It reveals pathways that the mind cannot see. So breathe. Sink into your body, into your now, into this one sacred breath. You are here. And here is the only place miracles can happen. There comes a point on the spiritual path where effort becomes surrender and seeking becomes seeing. You begin to realize that you do not need to chase answers. You need only to become quiet enough to hear them. They are already within you. The wisdom, the peace, the clarity, it's not outside, waiting in some future version of your life. It is here, in this breath, in this now. And the only thing keeping you from it is the noise of resistance. Let it go. Let go of the timelines that pressure you. Let go of the expectations that confine you. Let go of the need to be more than what you already are. You are not here to prove your divinity. You are here to embody it. To walk into a room with a soft presence that shifts the air not by force but by frequency. To move through this world with a quiet knowing that says, I am not my story, I am not my fear, I am not my past, I am presence, I am love, I am light. You don't have to shout that truth. You don't even have to say it. You simply have to be it. And being it means trusting that the frequency you carry is the frequency that leads when you walk as wholeness. Life mirrors wholeness. When you rest in gratitude, the universe opens new pathways. When you drop into stillness, clarity emerges without effort. You begin to see life not as something to control, but something to collaborate with. You begin to sense that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, not always in the way the mind wants, but in the way the soul needs. And in that surrender, your frequency stabilizes. It no longer jumps with circumstance. It no longer reacts to every trigger. It no longer depends on validation or control or certainty. It becomes steady, grounded, unshakable. And from that space, miracles flow. Not because you forced them, but because you became them. Because miracles are not events, they are frequencies. And you, beloved, are the tuning fork. You are the transmitter. You are the divine channel through which life expresses itself in form. So live like it, think like it, love like it, speak like it, walk like it, breathe like it. The universe is not waiting to bless you. It is waiting to recognize itself in you, to feel the signal of presence radiating from your being, to align with your soul's signature, not your ego's plan. You don't need more effort. You need more presence, more peace, more inner clarity, more moments of silence where you remember, I am already what I seek. This is the ultimate shift. From becoming to being, from doing to radiating, from striving to surrender. And in that surrender, life unfolds with grace. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, not because you manipulated the map, but because you matched the vibration of alignment. You'll be met by the right people, not because you chased them, but because you became a match for the energy they carry. You'll manifest beauty, not as a trick of manifestation techniques, but as a natural extension of the frequency of wholeness within you, because energy doesn't lie. And you, when you remember your light, are the most powerful force in creation. Not powerful in the way of the world, powerful in the way of peace, in the way of presence, in the way of God. So, slow down. The world may rush, but your soul never does. Presence has no urgency. Truth has no timeline. And love has no conditions. And when you live like that, when you live as if your soul is the leader, the universe has no choice but to respond in harmony. It must, because it is you. You are not separate. You are the wave and the ocean. You are the light and the source of light. You are the breath and the one who breathes. You are the prayer and the answer. The vibration you hold is your real power, not your resume, not your story, not your plans, your frequency. And when you choose peace, you tune your life to a higher octave of existence, one that doesn't need proof, only presence, one that doesn't chase, only flows, one that doesn't resist, only trusts. Let this be your new way of being, not something you do once, but something you return to again and again and again until it becomes your resting place, your home, your essence. Let the world do what it does. You hold your frequency. Let others misunderstand. You keep loving anyway. Let the path twist. You stay present anyway. Let time pass. You remain timeless in your trust. Because the universe responds not to your pressure, but to your peace. Not to your control, but to your coherence. Not to your fear, but to your faith. And when you radiate from that place, steady, anchored, aligned life becomes a mirror of your liberation, a mirror of your healing, a mirror of your true self, awakened, whole, divine. This is the frequency of God. And you, dear soul, are its echo in form. So be still. And know, you are not waiting for the universe to change. The universe is waiting for you to remember who you already are. And it will respond, not because you begged, but because you finally believed. Because the moment you return to your true vibration, the entire cosmos rises to meet you there. In truth, in light, in love, in presence, always and forever.